Hi, welcome back to Animation 1. This is the beginning of week 2 in the summer. So this is my mannequin. It's glitching a little bit because of the fact that it's on a loop with a 1-second loop, and it's 30 seconds. So what we're doing is we're doing a basic walk cycle, and I can show you so as we kind of went into things last week, we're doing, you could do it 24 seconds or you could do it 30. I'm doing 30 seconds because I'm American, you know, a lot of computer animation tends to be 30. Broadcast in Arabia, like where we're at, is I think 24 because it is 24. Okay, hang on. Sorry about that. Okay, all right, sorry. Welcome back to Animation 1, Summer. We're doing the walk cycle. So what's happening here is, I'll just play mine just for a moment. And it's 30 seconds, and it glitches a little bit because of the fact that I've just got it on loop, and it's reloading, and that's it. So we're doing a mannequin walk cycle. And so what's happening here is that we went through Alan Becker's pose to pose and straight ahead and pose to pose. And what we're looking at here is that we're just looking at just a straight side walk cycle of a mannequin and using Photoshop. And there's a bit to this. Not too bad, but in this case, I've just got a background and I've got 30 layers. So what I'm going to do is that I have this all done, and I'll just scroll this and you can see what's happening here. And actually, to be perfectly honest, I did something called rotoscoping. I drew over, I actually drew over an animation. So, but here's where we are, is that let's talk about Alan Becker's ideas on pose to pose. So where Becker is going at here, and let me see if I can pull up my PowerPoint from last time. This is my, let's see here. Here we go. Let's go here. I'm going to have to do some editing. Okay. So consider what we're doing here is that we're looking at the idea of pose-to-pose animation as basically being 4 or 5 basic poses. The contact, the down, the pass, up, contact, down again. So really what happens is that in the beginning, we're only doing about 4 or 5 poses. It's, you know, and the thing is that if you're going from frame to frame, you're killing yourself. So if we think about this, here we have now, we're doing like 12 poses. Or is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've taken the 4, which are our key poses, And now we've done some in-betweens to fill things in. And then we go out, and this is for 24, but I did 30. So really, in the beginning, all you're really doing, for the most part, is doing 4 or 5 poses. And I'm hoping that that doesn't seem so hard. So why don't we take a look at this in terms of my animation. And I'm going to turn on onion skinning. So I did this, you know what? I'm going to show this in 2 ways, right? I'm going to show this in the video timeline, and then I'm going to show this in the frame timeline. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you, I'm going to enable onion skinning. And then, by the way, I had been doing the, and you know, this, you'll probably lose your mind over this, but until this semester, I had been doing this by frame. And I had been looking for onion skinning for the last couple of years, and I just found it. I just found it 2 weeks ago. So, so what I'm going to do is that, just so we can take a look at this in really great detail, I'm going to show you 4 frames before, 4 frames afterwards, right? And let's just go through. So what's helpful with this, and actually I think I'll use multiply because it's really good for black and white. But watch this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go and I'll like turn off every third. And then I will also go over into the onion skin settings and make things darker so we can see things better. I'll go 75. I'll go 30. And I'll make it multiply. Okay, got it? Okay. So let's watch this. So I'm only doing the key poses now. But notice what's happening. The onion skin is almost giving me all my poses. That's crazy, right? You can see in between. So let's adjust the onion skinning. Let's take it down to 3. 3. Take this down to maybe 60, maybe 25. Keep it on multiple. But see what happens? It's starting to show it's still showing everything in between. Yes, it is. I'm recording it. Not a problem, Mira. So, because the thing is that I forget who I was talking to last night, who was worried about getting this done by today. And I said the one thing that I'm really much more concerned about than to getting it completely 100% on time, we're going to have to get the last one done on time. But in between now and then, I'm okay with being a day or two off, just so that you understand what's going on. So I think that it's super important, don't you? You know. So let's see here. Yep, layers are back. Okay. Now let's go and cut things down a little bit. Let's cut this down to 2. Okay. Let's go back to 50. But let's do something else. Let's bring in every other. There's one of these that I didn't do that. But see what happens when we go, back into Becker's, into Becker's discussion of Johnston and of Johnson. See what's happening? So then, so it's like, look here. When you can go, when you're in between 2, you know exactly where to draw. And by the way, you can use the brush. It's fine. If you've got a tablet, or if you want to take these into Procreate or whatever, it's fine. I just want you to understand how to do this and make it look good. That's it. It's I'm not crazy and I'm not an ogre. I'm just an old dragon. So, and then let's turn off onion skinning completely, all right? So let's see what happens. Right? And actually, I don't have my timeline set up properly, so. But do you see what's happening? Sure you can. Not a problem. As I said, basically in this case, I'm fine with you doing this in Photoshop or Procreate. It's fine. So because I know a lot of animators are starting to use Procreate, the thing is you just have to get an MP4 out of it. That's all. So it's all right. So, okay. Now let me turn on everything else. Let me go back here to layers. Let me turn everything on. And then let's watch it. See, this illustrates. Wait a second, I've got something turned off. Oh, it's up here. Okay, sorry. So, and then all we need to do at that point, once we get that all done, we just export, render to video, and that's fine. And I want to do start frame, and I'll just end at 30. And I'm going to make this AAD376 P1 assignment 3 Patrick Z10231, and then I'm just going to say revision 2. And there you go. So let's take a look at it, all right? You just see your Patrick. Let's see here. Okay, let's take a look at this. No, you are not ready to submit, because tomorrow we'll turn it into a 30-second clip. Amira, not ready to submit. Yes, and so what the thing is, we need to put titles on it. We need to put 30 of them together in Premiere and then put that out. That's what we do tomorrow, right? Got it, Amira? Okay, and then we'll go in that. We'll go into that tomorrow. Let's talk about some other dirty Photoshop tricks. So we were working in the time. We were working in the video timeline. Guess what? Some of you were insisting on working in frames. Okay, fair enough. By the way, notice one thing that's super important down here. If you're working at 30 frames a second, remember one thing. Let me move up my point size. 30 FPS. One second 30. Sorry, I'm writing as if I'm writing Farsi or Arabic or whatever, or Urdu. Okay. 1 second. I've got it going in this direction anyway. Equal got it? Not a problem. Fatima, that's great. So the thing is that down here, do you notice? Wait, so oops, sorry. Got it? So notice down here, it's 0.3 seconds. So that's 30 frames a second. Got it? So, 24 is 1 divided by 24. You know, I think that's 0.5. You know, it's like that. I mean, that's as much math as you're ever going to do as an animator, all right? So don't worry about it. So that's it. Okay. So let me show you something else. So the let's see here. Let me just pull this down a little bit. The other thing that happens with let me just shut this down just for a second. Okay, the other thing that happens with frame animation is that actually for a given frame, you actually only have, you're only really supposed to have one layer on at a time. And this is actually kind of weird. Basically, the way I made it was kind of weird. And this is going to take me forever, but this is, I'm just doing that. I have to do this because I was working on the video timeline and it translated into frame, and this is how it does it. And then, see, here's the whole thing with a frame. A frame holds the layers that you have on it and any given information that's in it. Right? So here's layer 3. Right? And then And believe it or not, I am gonna do this for all these because there's something I need to show you. And you're gonna say, Vala, why does he have to do this? And it's like, I know, right? But there's a reason for it. So, and it has to do with one thing. It has to do with the tools in Frame. And actually, you're really going to like this. See, the thing is that in the video timeline, you've got onion skinning. But guess what you have in the frame timeline? You have tweening. And you're saying, what is tweening, you may ask? Well, guess what? That's a really good question. Tweening is basically using the computer to draw between two frames. And I bet some of you are like face palming like crazy now. Just saying like, why didn't he tell us that before? Because of the fact that we were using the video timeline actually. And really, to tell you the truth, a lot of you, are saying, that's cheating. No, it isn't cheating. These are techniques that are used in every animation studio. And they're industrial things. So it's not a problem. And yeah, I know I got to do all this, but I got to do this because I want to show you tweening. Okay. And it's also kind of important because of the fact that this also illustrates kind of the difference between video timeline animation and frame timeline animation. Both are fine. They just have differences, and it's all right. Oops, hang on. And then let me go over here to 24. What just happened here? And then yep. And we're done in just a minute. Okay, and you know what? 30 doesn't have anything in it, so I'm just going to trash it. I'm not going to worry about it. Whatever. Okay. So let's go back and play the frame timeline. So it's doing its thing, right? Okay, that's great. But let's do something crazy. Yep, so let's, yep, Amira, I'm going to show you what the tween button is, okay? So here is, and here's the tween button. It's right here. It's this little thing that looks like 3 dots. So I'm gonna minimize things, and I'm gonna take I'm gonna take frame 2 and I'm gonna trash it. So watch what happens. I'm actually going to take frame 2 and frame 3, which used to be frame 4, and I'm going to trash it too. So watch what happens now. See, it's not so great. But, okay, here is the magic thing that you need to know. You select 1 and 2. You hit tween, and guess what? I'm just going to add 1 frame. Okay, here's the thing, is that no effects, just position. Because remember, this thing's got transparency. So if you've got transparency and you put transparency in it, it's going to kill you. But look what just happened. Frame number 2. Frame number 2 was computer generated. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Let me show you how this works in a much more extreme fashion. Okay, I've got 1 background. I'm going to make a frame animation. I'm going to take a ball. And by the way, I'm going to show you something that you're going to be able to use in the next project. So, okay. And the one thing I make sure to do is I'm going to make sure and do what they call rasterize the layer. I'm going to turn it into a bitmap. And I'm going to make another frame. Now, the one really cool thing about frame animation is that you can take an element in a layer and you can move it. And honestly, what happens is that if you notice here, it doesn't change what's in the layer. It just changes what's in the frame. Really listen to that hard. If you change if you change what's in a frame, it doesn't really change what's in the layer. That's super important. The other thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to make this 0.2 seconds, 0.2 seconds. All right. Are you with me? Okay, I'm going to show you something super extreme. We're now in this whole thing here. And you know what? You're going to use this on the ball bounce. So the thing is, I'm not going to use opacity because, here's the problem. Because of the fact that there's transparent, everything except for the ball is transparent and it'll fade out. Effects, we don't have any effects. So we're just going to use the position. Check this out. 25 frames. 25 frames. This is crazy. Look at what I just did. Right? Let's undo that. Let's do this one more step. Let's take this and then bring this up here. Look at this. And actually, I'm going to make this smoother. I'm going to take everything down to 1 second, 0.1 second. Right? Check this out. Right? So now we take what used to be layer 2 and layer 3. We do the same thing. That's crazy. Look at what we just did. Okay, and let's output this. And I'm going to call this stupid ball move. Right? Fantastic. It's going to be about a second. Let's loop this. So is that crazy? Okay, Amira, what's the problem? So, Amira, when you're doing a frame animation, all you need to do is you just need to select the frame and turn on whatever layer you need. Hang on just a second. About an hour after animation 1. But you get what I mean? So, Amira, let me show you. So, what you need to do is, all you need to do is you just need to, have whatever layer. Let's make another layer, okay? And then I'm just going to make a squiggly line. So what this represents is this represents your figure that you pasted in. And then so let's just say in all these layers, we just need to turn this layer off, right? Actually, I'm going to do two things. I'm just going to show you that in layer 4, I'm going to have this on. Watch what happens. So, do you see what I mean? So what happens is that it doesn't matter whether it pastes in the same layer. You just have to have the layer turned on in the, for the frame that you're using. So whatever frame you use, you just have to have the layers showing that you want to be showing in the frame. And then that's it. The second thing that's also really cool is if you think about it, you can use one layer and then you can use moves and transforms and that sort of thing. And you don't have to have separate layers with the same ball in it. You can just have that layer, you can just have that frame kind of recording the transforms that you're doing with your content, and it'll keep it. It's pretty cool. And that's it. Does that make sense? And so that's it. All you need to do is you need to be turning on the layer that you are. And the only thing, Amira, that I'm just kind of telling you is that I'm just saying when you're beginning this, working in frame is giving you a lot more work. So that's why I was suggesting people working in video. But you can work in frame, and that's okay. So that's kind of it. Is everybody a lot more clear now? So does this help? Because what happens here is that I think, I just kind of threw you into the water with this. And I think what's going on here is that what I did is that now I just kind of took my animation and I really pulled it apart for you and showed you how it works in the in the video animation timeline, and then I showed you how it works in a frame animation timeline. Exactly. So Amira, what we're going to do is that for tomorrow, you make your 30 frame animation, you output it 30 frames, it's going to be 1 second. Then tomorrow what we're going to do is that we're going to put it into Premiere. Because I want you to get started with Premiere, we're going to put a title on it. Then we're going to make 30 copies of your walk cycle. We'll put the end title on the end, and then we're going to output it. And then that's your assignment. Well, you know what? If you want to do 24 frames per second, that's fine too. Then you do 24 frames. It's okay. It's your choice. Just as long as you know what you're doing. You know what, Renan? It's fine. Just as long as you know what you're doing. You know, so the thing is that the other thing that's also really useful for you is the fact that you may have to be working in different frame rates depending if you're doing online delivery or whether you're doing broadcast delivery. So it's good that we get this straightened out, you know? You can. And then, by the way, tomorrow I'm going to show you something else. But I'm only going to show you one. I'm going to show you a couple tricks a day. I'm not going to show you all the tricks at the same time. You know, I want you to go through and learn these things and know how to do it one way before I show you how to take a couple shortcuts. Okay? So, you know, I want you to know how things work, you know, before we start, you know, optimizing workflow. You know, I want you to know the hard way before we start getting into the easier ways. But now you know. So, or at least inshallah you know. So, so here's the thing. Do you think that you know enough today to go and finish things up? Or do you have any questions? I know, inshallah. Oh yeah, actually, so what's happening here is that I need to get the history of animation one out first, and then I'll get this one out. Okay. So we'll get this all taken care of. All right. It'll be fine. I'm going to stop my recording on this.